We now deep dive for the first time in the field of smart cities. Obviously, we're all familiar with the megatrend of urbanization. We see how big cities grow, and the pace of the growth even goes faster, and they grow even faster, and so forth. And after all, we all know that technology has to be part of the solution to keep these huge cities viable. And how that can work, how a master plan for smart cities could work out, will be discussed in the next 20-25 minutes by 4 experts. And we're happy that they're all here. No, they're 5, aren't they? 4 or 5. It's 5 it is. And unfortunately, I don't have to do that. I have someone who's doing it for me. And that person will be William Hutchison from EY, a company formerly known as Ernst & Young. Mr. Hutchison, please come up stage. And then you introduce your panelists, please. Hello. Hello, hello. Hello. Trotzdem. All right, we need the hand microphone.
Need a mic.
All right, thanks you.
Thank you.
Is the microphone on?
Hello, testing, testing. There I'm on. Okay.
There it is.
Okay, now I think you're going to.
And there's a second microphone we need.
Is that working?
Not yet.
No.
There's another hand microphone. Could you turn that on, please? Could you give it a try? No, it's not on.
It's not.
Use that one first, and I'll make sure that this one will be on.
We share one microphone, Bill. Perfectly all right. To say a lot about Bill Hutchison, well, lots of you probably know him. He's originally from Canada, and he still lives there. He has been into smart cities for many years, and he has got a great expertise. And our discussion today, panel discussion, actually hits the right point. Smart city, perfect city, question mark. And that's the main point of our debate. And I would like to ask, beside of Bill Hutchison, who is already on stage, Cornelia Gottbehut from Ernst & Young, Jean-François Tremblay, Ernst & Young as well, and Dr. Petra Wolf, Technical University of Munich. Well, that is a nice group of experts here. Thank you so much that you actually joined us for this debate. Let me go straight into this without any fuss. Smart city, perfect city. What a smart city is, there might be different opinions about that, but let's hit the last bit of that question. Is a smart city the perfect city? And I would like to start with Cornelia.
Thank you. Well, when talking about a perfect city, I think there are a lot of perspectives and dimensions we can think of.
Depends on what you want from a city,
it depends on what you want from a perfect city. And I think I can answer that question from my perspective and from my experience I have. And this is at least working with public administrations, big cities, organizations on the state level, on the federal level. And from that perspective, for me, a perfect city is, one part of a perfect city is that we have very good processes inside our organization. We have a lot of transparency, and what can help on this way, at least, is we have at least a very good digital offering for our citizens, but also for the people working inside our organizations, very good and efficient interaction between companies in our city, but also with other administrations, and at least offering a good functioning system to our companies and citizens. So but this is part of a perfect city.
So it's part of that perfect city. We haven't still figured out yet what the perfect city is, but maybe we're getting close to it over the next 30 minutes. By the way, my name is Uwe Westphal, and I'm obviously anchoring this panel debate. Going straight to Jean-François. The perfect city, Jean-François, have you actually found it?
I don't think it exists yet. I don't think we have it.
But we get closer to it.
We are, I think we are. Yet I think all cities are trying to figure out who they are in terms of where they can be in the future. I think there's a lot of brand issue around being a smart city. That is who I am as a city, who do I want to attract, where do I want to focus in order to make sure that I get into some positioning in the world. I think cities are increasingly competing against each other, and each of them need to have a clear message around what is it I'm going to be good at in the future.
Talking about the future, I would like to hear Bill's take on the question, have you seen the smart city yet?
Well, I've been working with a lot of cities to try to help them win the global awards as smartest city, and I'm pleased to say that many of my clients have won these awards. But we all do different rankings. The Economist loves to do a ranking on best city or most livable city, which sounds like a more perfect city. But there are intelligent communities and sustainable communities. It's all about transformation. And so one of the mega trends in the world is the transformation of cities into smarter or better or more intelligent communities. It's been gestating, if you like, for the last 20 years. Like all disruptive changes, they take a while to come along and then they take off, like an exponential curve. This is fast becoming a $1 trillion a year market. And it's very important for cities because if you don't do it and the other people are becoming smarter and more intelligent, all your young people will go there because they want to have better broadband. They want to have all these new capabilities. So you will never be a perfect city, but the other ones may have a good balance between economic development, social development, which people forget about. They think this is a technology play. In fact, it's not. It's about changing life in the city and, of course, the sustainability thing from an environmental point of view. So I have not yet seen perfect, but there are a lot of communities that are doing a great job and are winning the international awards. Based on today, let me just say that between now and 2020, computers and telecommunications will improve by a factor of 1,000 times in 2020 compared to where they are today. So even if you're the leading, smarter, intelligent community today, you better keep on transforming because the world is going to change just in the next 5 years.
That brings me, of course, to Dr. Peter Wolf from the Technical University in Munich. You're doing research on this, looking into the past, of course, trying to figure out what the future is going to be. Listening to Bill's prognosis, how realistic does it sound to you that in about 5 years' time, and Bill said 2020, things will look completely and utterly different?
Well, at least I think citizens as well as businesses who are used to do things digitalized, they expect their city to provide as well digitized services. And the interesting aspect of the term smart city to me is it not only addresses the smart administration, it also addresses smart citizens and smart businesses, because not only one of these stakeholders can be smart alone. They need collaboration, and a smart city doing smart e-government processes needs smart citizens who are able to use these processes, who are using their e-IDs and other kinds of technologies without being afraid of data loss and things like that, and who are able to manage security applications and things like that. And it needs as well smart businesses who are aware of smart applications and of smart data, and who are willing to learn new ways of collaborating with a smart administration.
Smart administration, Jean-François, from Director of Global Automotive Center for EY. Jean-François, the smart admin, have you actually figured out how easy that is to implement in cities?
Well, we are interacting with cities. Interestingly, I'm from the automotive division of EY. And a large portion of my time now is to interact with cities. What we're trying to introduce is this concept that vehicle manufacturers are no longer just pushing cars to dealers who are pushing cars to cities. We're trying to work on business models where the car becomes a more sophisticated contributor to the whole mobility landscape within a specific jurisdiction. And in order to reach that, what we have discovered is that, in fact, vehicle manufacturers need to learn how to talk to cities. Vehicle manufacturers, in fact, don't have any clients, right? They expect their dealers to do the job and sell the vehicles. And what we believe is that vehicle manufacturers now need to understand how cities function. They need to speak their language. And that language needs also to be created. So now we're getting to your question, the administration. Well, precisely, that dialogue starts with a good understanding of what is the administration's purpose? What is its social ambitions? What's the energy management strategy of that city? And then you can start to think about what's the best vehicle that will fit with those ambitions.
This is not all about transportation. I mean, talking about cars, that's one thing, but it actually means you need to have a full picture, or as we could also say, a holistic idea of how to implement this, and you learn by basically doing it, because this is not a process that starts at 12 o'clock lunchtime and finishes at 4:30 tea time, as they would say in England. Cornelia, is that something that is, in your experience, actually very important, that this is an educational process as well, to learn what a smart city is, because you have got to deal with public administration, you have to deal with, for example, in Germany, with the federal government, which might not be the easiest to deal with, but I want to stay away from any kind of criticism here. It will be a learning process, is that right?
Absolutely. So this is, I would say, a learning process for each organization, because as I think in most organizations you have a broad variety of openness and at least experience with regard to digitalization, to processes, to using mobile devices, and so it's a big challenge, at least for every organization, to implement a good change management and also to qualify the people inside the organization when we talk about administration, how to work with this challenge, how to build up a strategy, how to define a roadmap, how to prioritize where you will start and what is really important and what not. So this is the internal, I would say, education challenge. But it's also a challenge, I would say, for the leaders and at least for the politicians. And I think, as you already said, is say, for example, I had a discussion with a politician and we talked about mobility conception inside the city and said, okay, but e-car sharing, it's not, is it really where I'm responsible for? And I said, maybe not alone, but at least the environment we have here in the city, the framework you give and the opportunities you share and you can discuss, and some planning decisions may have a lot of impact to be a good environment for a car sharer or not. And at that point, I think it's also kind of a openness and education challenge to open here discussion and involve other players.
And involving other players and taking care of the challenges does include, for example, issues like, if we have a smart city, what about cybersecurity? Bill, you have the vast experience of having been all around the globe and checked it out, what a smart city is actually built of. What about cybersecurity in cities? How do we do this?
Well, it's interesting, and cybersecurity is a very important issue, but it's one like all the others. I'd like to just come back to the moment, because we've been talking about how do we involve the other players. So I'd like to come back to this question of the perfect city. Well, who's going to be the judge as to whether we have a perfect city or not? I would maintain it's the citizens. I mean, it's not the city hall, it's not the administration. And I'll tell you a fast, funny story. I was working with one city not long ago, and our process is we, first of all, do an assessment of where the city's at today, and we ask them to do a self-assessment. We take about 10 different little working groups, but we break them up. So we ask the city employees where they think they stand on 26 different measures. And then we ask leaders of large companies, leaders of small companies, but then we ask the young leaders of the city. Well, you should see. So the city officials will tell you that on all of those, geez, we rank really well. We're a great city. Then you read what the young people say about your city. Not so good. Maybe good on a few things, but not so many. So first of all, the question is, why are we making this smart city at all? Well, one of the key reasons I would maintain is for our children and for our youth, because we're trying to make sure we have a prosperous economy tomorrow as they come along. So we really can't rely just on the civic officials. So it has to be a collaborative effort in picking the priorities. So you have to get all of these groups in separately, first of all, and then you bring it all together, and that sets the priorities. So security and cybersecurity, we all know, I think it's sad, but it's becoming a more and more important thing all the time. On the other hand, there are new techniques coming along as well, and quantum securities and things like that. But it is just one of the many priorities. But you better get the citizens involved too, because you get the privacy issues. But if they're part of it and setting the priorities, then you don't have this tug of war between why are we doing that and what else. So even for security, it's important that they're part of the planning.
Jean-François, some depends, you know, who's having a take on this issue of smart city. Some people say this is a massive risk, and others say this is a great challenge. Is it actually both? And how can you actually, you know, find a peaceful relationship between both, that you actually take into account the risks and the challenges? Bill actually said just a few minutes ago in the EY booth upstairs that Canada actually is profiting from the smart city concept enormously. They take in roughly about 250,000 migrants, give them jobs, interlink them, etc., etc. What do you think? Is there a certain balance between risk and challenges, and how to manage the challenges?
From whose perspective are you asking the question? From the city administration? From
I'm not having any perspective. It's just basically a question. Yes, of course. Let's start with the city's admin.
I think the risk always, with the risk grows the ability to counter that risk. I'll be frank with you. I'm not too concerned about the risk question.
Can I just interrupt you here?
Go ahead.
I mean, data security, cyber security. We all know this is about big data. Can we actually guarantee from the city's admin that data won't get stolen?
Don't ask me to guarantee this here right away, right? I'm not saying there's no risk. I'm just saying the ability to address that risk grows as we move on with technology in life and in life in general, right? Of course you can hack everything you want, right? We need to come up with solutions, but the level of attention is extremely high these days around those issues. So I'm not concerned that we will get there, right? We have planes flying all over cities. We face risks all over the time. Yet we're able to address those. At least that's my perspective. I don't know what yours is.
I was just going to say, to a lot of people, this appears like something new. We've been doing smart cities for 20 years. I created Smart Toronto in 1994, only to be told by a mayor from another city that my English wasn't very good. I didn't understand the word oxymoron, and that smart and Toronto didn't go together. But we've been doing it for a long time. Singapore is just on their latest plan. Their first one was in the early 90s. So we know how to do this. The trick is to get the community to buy into doing it the right way. That's the risk.
So the trick is to get the community to do it in the right way. I'm rephrasing Bill. Petra Wolf, what is your experience in bringing forward your results of your research and actually stressing the urgency of the matter?
Well, this is not that easy. We're doing a yearly study, which is called the e-government monitor, and EY is one of our supporters in this study, and we're illustrating the views of citizens towards e-government in terms of what are their hopes for benefits and what are their fears and risks and perceptions of risks which are connected with e-government. Why do they use it and why don't they use it? And the numbers which we get in an international comparative survey show that especially in Germany we have a skeptical environment. Citizens are fearing data theft and things like that, and they're reluctant more than others to use e-government, and we see that these numbers create a massive urgency to work as well on the stakeholder side and to collaborate with citizens and develop concepts for fostering trust in e-government. As well as we need more user-friendly versions of e-government, which make it easy for citizens to switch to the digitized way to do e-government. And yes, the stakeholders on the political side, they see this urgency, but at the same time, they also see that it's massively complicated to get all the people who are relevant in line. And we're talking about huge projects and huge concepts. So I would hope for more political attention, more political support for the concepts which are there, and more commitment in terms of budgets which are behind things like national programs and federal programs.
Thank you very much. Very briefly, Cornelia, to that particular point. And then we come to the end of this session, and then we do the little pitch presentations. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's absolutely key talking about data security and IT security in that environment. But on the other side, I think it's sometimes it seems to me that it is another discussion we have beside that, because if we see the traditional way we are working with letters, with people coming to the offices and talking with other people's around, so I sometimes ask myself, how secure is this with regard to my data? And it's not, currently we do not have the 100% guarantee at least. So why do we really ask for a 100% guarantee no one can give us in times of digitalization? And nevertheless, I think it's the responsibility of every governmental organization to define, I would say, an acceptable level of security we offer our interactions with our citizens.
Thank you very much, Cornelia. Thanks to Jean-François, Frau Wolf, and to Cornelia. Thank you very much. Bill remains on the stage. You have a great chance now to relax a little bit, sit down and enjoy a presentation, two presentations actually, two pitches, three pitches, I just see that. Three pitches from smart city startups, and I'm looking forward to that. Bill.
So,
excellent.
Come on up.
Mr. Hutchison, thank you for that.